Society loves to tell us that gaming is nothing but a childish waste of time, a hobby where you learn absolutely nothing of value. Well, tell that to the people who built empires, manipulated global markets, and stole millions without ever leaving their bedrooms. The heroes and villains of today's video aren't your average gamers. If they pulled off these exact same schemes in the real world, they would either be gracing the cover of Forbes magazine or serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison for financial fraud. In virtual worlds, where the economies are real but the SEC doesn't exist, human greed finds a way. Today, we are diving into the most brilliant, ruthless, and devastating financial manipulations in the history of video games. From Galactic Ponzi schemes to virtual insider trading, this is how players broke the system. EVE Online is less of a game and more of a ruthless capitalist simulator set in space. And where there is unregulated capitalism, there are Ponzi schemes. Enter Phaser Inc. The pitch was simple and incredibly tempting. The creator of this in-game investment fund promised players a guaranteed weekly dividend of 5 to 10%. In the real world, any investor would immediately recognize this as a giant red flag. But in the lawless vacuum of New Eden, people bought in. And here is the genius part. For months, it actually worked. The mastermind paid out those massive returns on time every single week. Players were getting rich, and the trust in Phaser Inc. skyrocketed. Word of mouth spread like wildfire. Major alliances and wealthy veterans started pouring their entire life savings into the fund. But there was no trading algorithm. There were no highly profitable cosmic factories. It was a textbook Ponzi scheme. The payouts to early investors were funded entirely by the deposits of new ones. Once the fund hit a critical mass, holding over $1 trillion ISK, equivalent to tens of thousands of real-world dollars, the payments abruptly stopped. The mastermind liquidated the assets, transferred the unimaginable wealth to untraceable offshore accounts, and vanished into the cosmos. No hacks, no exploits, just basic human psychology and a mastery of trust. Monopolies are illegal in most countries for a reason. But in World of Warcraft's early days, one group created a cartel so powerful they essentially became the server's central bank. Welcome to the Devilsaur Mafia. In vanilla WoW, the Ungoro crater was the only place to farm Devilsaurs. Their leather was strictly required to craft the best pre-raid gear in the game. It was a high-demand, low-supply bottleneck. Normally, the two opposing factions, the Horde and the Alliance, would kill each other over these resources. They couldn't even communicate in-game. But the top hardcore guilds realized that war is bad for business. Instead of fighting, they used third-party voice chats to negotiate a secret peace treaty. They formed a cross-faction syndicate. This cartel locked down the crater 24/7. If a random player wandered in to hunt a dinosaur, the cartel would instantly coordinate to assassinate them. By taking total control of the supply chain, they completely monopolized the Devilsaur leather market. They fixed the prices on the auction house, inflating the cost to astronomical levels. Every player on the server who wanted to raid had to pay the Mafia tax. They didn't just play the game, they became the game's shadow government. If you've followed cryptocurrency over the last few years, you are probably familiar with the pump and dump scheme. But years before crypto bros were shilling altcoins on Twitter, RuneScape players were perfecting the exact same scam on the Grand Exchange. The Grand Exchange is RuneScape's central stock market, and where there is a market, there is manipulation. Massive groups known as merchant clans began to form. The elite leaders of these clans would identify a cheap, useless, low-volume item. First, the inner circle quietly bought up all the supply at dirt-cheap prices. Then, they initiated the pump. They ordered thousands of their lower-ranking clan members to aggressively buy the item. The massive sudden demand triggered the Grand Exchange algorithms, causing the item's visible price graph to shoot straight up. Regular players walking by saw this massive green spike. FOMO, the fear of missing out, kicked in. Outsiders started panic buying the useless item, hoping to ride the wave to infinite wealth. And right at the peak, when the hype was highest, the clan leaders executed the dump. They sold their massive stashes all at once, taking all the profit and instantly crashing the price to zero. The lower-ranking clan members and regular players were left holding the bag, a bank full of worthless junk. In the real world, trading stocks based on confidential, unreleased information is called insider trading, and it will put you behind bars. In the MMO world, it just makes you filthy rich. Every time a game like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2 prepares a massive new update, developers run closed testing servers. And every single time, data miners are watching. Let's say a data miner discovers a hidden line of code in an upcoming patch. To craft the new legendary weapon, players will suddenly need thousands of units of copper ore, a low-level, completely worthless item that everyone ignores. This information is kept strictly within a private circle. Weeks before the update is publicly announced, this group of insiders quietly visits the auction house and buys every single piece of copper ore for pennies. They hoard millions of them. The moment the developers officially announce the patch notes, chaos ensues. The entire player base rushes to buy copper ore, but the market is completely dry. The demand skyrockets by 10,000%. The insiders then slowly trickle their hoarded ore back onto the market, dictating whatever price they want. By knowing the future, they successfully orchestrated the largest wealth transfer in the game, completely legally within the game's rules. What happens when a central bank prints too much money? Hyperinflation. In 2019, Team Fortress 2 experienced an economic apocalypse known as the Great Depression. For years, the Team Fortress 2 economy was anchored by unusuals, incredibly rare cosmetic hats with a drop rate of less than 1%. Because of their extreme scarcity, these hats were worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of real-world dollars. They were the gold standard of the game. Then, Valve made a catastrophic programming error. An update was released where a specific series of crates suddenly had a 100% chance of dropping an unusual hat. The scarcity that gave the economy its value evaporated overnight. Within minutes, the market was flooded with top-tier items. The price of unusuals plummeted into the abyss. It was a digital Black Tuesday. But the most fascinating part wasn't the crash. It was how the veteran traders reacted. Recognizing the hyperinflation instantly, top traders began panic selling their hats and aggressively buying man-compon supply crate keys. Keys were the game's equivalent of a stablecoin. Their value was fixed by the in-game store. Just like real-world investors fleeing to gold during a stock market crash, these gamers sought a safe haven asset to protect their wealth before the developers pulled the plug and shut the servers down. Whether it's a galactic Ponzi scheme, a ruthless dinosaur cartel, or a hyperinflated hat market, the lesson is always the same. You can code the perfect virtual world, you can design the ultimate fantasy, but you can never patch out human nature. These stories prove that economics isn't just numbers on a whiteboard, it's a study of human behavior. And when you give millions of players an unregulated sandbox and a taste of real financial power, they will recreate Wall Street's darkest days purely for the thrill of the game.